Welcome back to Hot Topic TV. Today's story is one that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about wealth, power, and social status. If you enjoy stories that challenge stereotypes and push societal boundaries, make sure to hit the subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss any of our future content. Our story begins with Marie. To the outside world, she appears to be just another face in the crowd. A quiet, hardworking black woman, doing her job as a housekeeper in one of the wealthiest mansions in town. But what no one knows is that Marie is no ordinary maid. She's actually the secret owner of the very mansion she's cleaning. Marie wasn't always wealthy. She grew up in a poor neighborhood where opportunities were scarce and discrimination was plentiful. But through hard work, intelligence, and a fierce determination to succeed, she built her own real estate empire, becoming one of the most influential figures in the city. Despite her wealth, she found that people still treated her based on her skin color and perceived status. She was tired of being judged not for her success but for how she looked. So one day she made a bold decision. She decided to strip away her wealth, her status, and her power and go undercover as a housekeeper in her own mansion. She wanted to see firsthand how people would treat her when they thought she was just the help, dressed in a simple maid's uniform, her hair tied back in a modest bun, and no trace of her usual luxury. Marie was unrecognizable. She adopted a new identity and began working alongside the very staff she used to manage from afar. No one had any idea that the humble maid cleaning the floors was actually their boss. From the moment she stepped into her new role, the difference in how she was treated was immediate. The other maids, who had always respected her when they believed she was a wealthy businesswoman, now saw her as competition. They whispered behind her back, made snide comments about her appearance, and even tried to sabotage her work. Despite the hostility, Marie remained calm. She cleaned the mansion's massive rooms, polished the marble floors, and dusted the priceless antiques with the same care she had when she owned them outright. But now, instead of being admired, she was invisible. Her patience was tested further when the mansion's regular visitors arrived. One client in particular stood out, Mrs. Thornton, a woman known for her sharp tongue and even sharper business deals. Mrs. Thornton was in the process of purchasing the mansion, and she treated the housekeepers with nothing short of contempt. On her first visit, she barely acknowledged Marie's presence, dismissing her with a wave of her hand as if she were a nuisance rather than a person. But things escalated during Mrs. Thornton's second visit. She had brought along her family and a group of potential business partners, eager to show off the mansion she was about to acquire. As Marie quietly cleaned the grand dining room, Mrs. Thornton began barking orders at her. "You missed a spot," she said, pointing to the corner of the table. "Honestly, what's the point of hiring help if they can't even do the simplest tasks?" Marie didn't respond. She simply nodded and continued working, knowing that her moment would come soon enough. The days turned into weeks, and Marie watched as Mrs. Thornton and her business partners began to plot a scheme to drastically underpay for the mansion. Mrs. Thornton had no idea that the woman sweeping the floors was also the one who controlled the entire deal. She spoke openly about how she planned to take advantage of these people and get the property for a steal. It was clear that Mrs. Thornton saw herself as superior, not just in wealth but in every possible way. Marie, however, remained silent, biding her time. One evening, after everyone had left the mansion, Marie sat down at her old desk in the master suite, surrounded by the opulence that she had grown used to but now saw with new eyes. She realized that her experiment had gone far beyond her original intent. She had seen firsthand how people who thought they were more powerful treated those they believed were beneath them. And now, she was ready to turn the tables. The next morning, Mrs. Thornton returned for what she believed was her final meeting before acquiring the mansion. She expected to meet with a mysterious owner who had remained unseen throughout the entire transaction. Little did she know, that owner was the very woman she had been belittling for weeks. Marie arrived in the drawing room, but this time, she wasn't dressed in her maid's uniform. Instead, she wore a stunning black dress, her hair styled elegantly, and her presence commanding. She looked every bit the powerful woman she truly was. When Mrs. Thornton saw her, her face turned pale. She recognized Marie instantly, but couldn't comprehend what was happening. "You," she stammered. "You're the owner." Marie smiled, her posture confident and poised. "Yes," she said calmly. "And now you'll pay the full price for this mansion. No tricks, no lies. This deal will be fair." The room fell silent. The other staff members, who had also gathered for the big reveal, stood in stunned silence. They had no idea that the woman they had been working alongside was their boss all along. Mrs. Thornton, realizing she had no leverage, reluctantly agreed to the terms. Her arrogance had cost her dearly, and now she had no choice but to pay the price, both literally and figuratively. But the story didn't end there. News of Marie's secret identity spread quickly, and it became a scandal that rocked the local elite. People couldn't believe that the wealthy owner of the mansion had been working as a maid right under their noses. The revelation exposed the deep-seated prejudices that still existed in society, even among those who claimed to be progressive. Marie's decision to go undercover had not only given her insight into the lives of those who worked for her, but it had also exposed the ugly truth about how people were treated based on their perceived status. She had experienced the discrimination, the condescension, and the blatant disrespect firsthand, and now she was using her power to make sure things would change. In the end, Marie returned to her life of wealth and power, but she did so with a new sense of purpose. She knew that the fight against prejudice wasn't over, but she also knew that she had the power to make a difference. And as for Mrs. Thornton, she learned the hard way that you should never underestimate someone based on their appearance, because you never know who they might truly be. If you enjoyed this story and want more like it, make sure to subscribe to Hot Topic TV and turn on notifications. We bring you the stories that challenge the status quo and make you think twice about the world around you.